I'm just going to say it. The Oppo Find X is the most interesting smartphone of 2018. Instead of blending in with everyone else, it negates the need for a notch in its display by placing all of its cameras in a peekaboo module that pops up from the top of the phone. It's this peculiarity that has a lot of folks hesitating at the checkout button. But that's not what they should be worried about. I'm MrMobile, and I've spent 5 days with this phone. Let me tell you why I'm not going to make it 6. Okay, it is impossible to discuss the Find X without talking about how it failed my friend Zach's durability testing over at Jerry Rig Everything. And Zach brings up some great points. This phone is necessarily more fragile than its monoblock competitors. It's easier to break in half if you sit on it, or, try to break it in half. Further, I can confirm that it's not water or, more importantly, dust-proof. Yeah, stuff gets in there. And the introduction of moving parts does make it more likely to fail over time. But here's why I don't care about that stuff. You don't buy the Find X if you're looking for just another phone, folks. You buy it so you can have something special. This thing isn't something you'd expect to survive the job site. It's a work of art. It blends the curved lines of Samsung with the layered colors of Honor and the face scanner of an iPhone. There's a reason I had to pay nearly $1,000 on eBay just to get a hold of one. I agree that every mainstream phone should be able to be stuck in a back pocket and sat on, but it's pretty obvious that Oppo wasn't trying to cater to the mainstream here. As for the argument that more moving parts equals a higher failure rate, okay, but I've been around long enough to see this argument play out before. Back around 2004, the US market was switching from candy bar style phones, like this, to flip phones, like this. And everyone was saying, OMG, moving parts, they're all gonna break. Well, I was in wireless retail at the time, and sure, some clamshell phones did indeed break in half. But I saw many, many, many more of them coming back intact years later as trade-in devices on upgrade deals. And let's be real, it's not like you need a hinge or moving parts to break a modern smartphone either. Now, you might say, sure, MrMobile, but the Find X camera module uses a motor. Motors can fail. Again, you're not wrong. But as some of you know, I work on another YouTube channel featuring scale models, and do you know what every single one of those scale models has in common? Electric motors. And despite operating constantly in seawater, they don't fail nearly as often as some other components on those boats. Turns out humans are pretty good at building motors in 2018. Just think about the tiny one driving the optical stabilization unit or the haptic vibrators in the phone you might be watching this video on. All that's a long way of saying the durability thing is not a deal breaker for me. Matter of fact, in one weird way, it's more durable than most. I can put this phone down on a table and not worry that a random grain of sand is scratching my camera lens, because the cameras are always protected unless you're using them. When you do use the cameras, they're pretty good. Aside from some occasional autofocus issues, I was pleased with the primary and selfie shooters. Though I will need a longer review period to really put it through its paces. Please subscribe to the MrMobile on YouTube so you don't miss those follow-ups. And the phone has some other fantastic high points. That humongous, beautiful curved display, the 2-day battery life, the jam-packed spec sheet. If it weren't for one huge failing, this phone would already be a contender for one of my 2 daily carries. That failing, and stop me if you've heard this before, is the software. See, the Oppo Find X isn't currently planned for US release, so would-be American owners need to deal with software made for the China market. And that software is, in a word, terrible. Why? Well, just pick one of these. Now, bugs and market-specific feature failings are one thing, okay, but the Oppo Find X makes a nearly unforgivable faux pas that, if we weren't talking about something as frivolous as smartphones, I'd almost say it offends me. See, the main reason I carry Android phones instead of iPhones is because Android lets me do what I want. If I don't like the way a particular phone's software works, I can install another launcher to suit my taste. Now, I have used phones that do everything they can to talk me out of using my own launcher. Looking at you, Huawei. But after all their warnings and complaints, they eventually do let me use it. I had never used a phone that straight up disables the ability to use a custom launcher until today. The Find X does just that. Oppo tells me it's working to fix some of the bugs I mentioned before, and it's also promised me a European review device when those are available so I can give it a proper review. I'm looking forward to that. But I'll say right now that if that phone keeps users locked into the ColorOS launcher, there's just no way I can recommend it, not without a good explanation. I have asked Oppo for just such an explanation, and if the company provides one, I will definitely drop it in the comments below. My preliminary conclusions after a quick word from the company that made today's video possible.
Look, I've got nothing against shopping at the mall, but it's an awful lot of work. Plus, I don't always trust my own eye when it comes to fashion. I look good.
So I'm happy today's sponsor is Bombfell. Bombfell sends curated clothing right to your door, and not just any clothing.
This is nice.
Every piece is handpicked by your own personal stylist. And you keep total control. When my stylist, also named Michael, put together an order that I wanted to tweak, all it took was an email within the first 48 hours to get an order that really resonated with me. As you might know, I'm kind of a vest guy, and I think I've found a new favorite with this one. You've got 7 days to tell Bombfell what you'd like to keep from your order, and you send the rest back. But the more you keep, the more you save. Bombfell never charges above retail price, folks, but you still deserve a discount for helping support MrMobile. You can get $25 off your first purchase right now by going to bombfell.com/MrMobile. That's bombfell.com/MrMobile. And thanks. For all the ways the Find X doesn't work for me, I'm really glad it exists. I mean, people like me are always calling for more innovation in mobile technology. Well, okay, here's a smartphone that hides its cameras inside a periscope so it can squeeze more display onto the faceplate. And it's beautiful and feature-packed to boot. That's innovation. That's boldness. And I respect it. On a hardware level, the Find X has all the markings of a truly great smartphone. I just hope that by the time it comes to Europe, Oppo will have awoken to the wisdom of offering that greatness to users without consigning them to decidedly not great software. Folks, we're kicking off the fall smartphone season with a bang, and we're barely into August. More fun stuff on the way from Motorola, Samsung, and others in the weeks ahead, so at the risk of repeating myself, please hit that subscribe button. And let me know what you're most looking forward to in the latter half of 2018. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay mobile, my friends.